So here's a couple stories about almost being abducted. Um, the first time was when I was a little girl. I was about 10 years old and I was walking home from elementary school. Um, the school was like 5 blocks away from my house. It was in the neighborhood, right outside the neighborhood, and everyone pretty much walked to school and back. It was a pretty safe neighborhood. The only thing dangerous were people with and their dogs would just be roaming around the neighborhood chasing kids. But other than that, it was pretty safe. Um, yeah, I had a dog phobia because of that, but that's another story. So I was walking home one day and it was a bright, sunny summer day. There was no one around me. I was just kind of walking by myself down the sidewalk, and there was this car parked on the road in front of, someone's house. And as I passed by, there was a black lady inside. She was like, I don't know, 35, 40 years old. She was just like your regular adult. She wasn't too old, but it's hard for me to remember, her age. But I remember she was like not young, and she wasn't like super old or anything. But she was like, I would say late 30s, maybe early 40s. And she was sitting in the car alone. It was this big car. I don't remember the color. I know it was a dark color, and it was like one of those big old cars, and like a Chrysler or something. And she was in the driver's seat, and the car was parked not going towards my house, but like going away from my house, out the neighborhood, on a road that goes straight out of the neighborhood. As I was walking down the street towards my house, and she started like yelling, "Hey, I'm here to pick you up. Your mom told me to pick you up." And I remember telling her, "Well, my mom didn't tell me anything about someone picking me up." And she was like, "You better get in the car with me or she's gonna get mad." And again, I was like, "My mom didn't tell me anyone was supposed to pick me up." And she was just kept like trying to convince me that my mom wanted her to pick me up. And I didn't believe her. I had this feeling that I just knew she was lying. I just knew. And my mom was very, she always like told me never ever get in the car with strangers, never take anything from a stranger, never go anywhere with a stranger. She always made sure that I knew that much. Because I was always getting lost. Whenever we'd go into a store, somehow I would manage to get lost, and I'd run off somewhere, and I panicking because I couldn't find her. So that's happened a few times, more than I could count. So I guess she wanted to make sure that, I wouldn't get kidnapped or snatched in the store as I'm like running around by myself. So she made sure to tell me to never like take food from someone or never take drink or candy or anything like that. And never go somewhere with someone, or just pretty much don't talk to strangers, don't trust anyone. She made sure that was drilled into my head. So that was a good thing, because this lady was very convincing. I remember her telling me all kind of stuff. Like, she was just making things up. And I was like, none of it made any sense to me, because I'd never seen her before. My mom had a lot of friends, and I knew all her friends because they came over all the time. They're always trying to talk to you and stuff. And I'd never seen this lady before. My mom did have a friend that resembled her and looked like her. So that's why I kind of stopped, because I thought it was her. But as I talked to her, I realized that wasn't her. And I didn't know who this woman was. I'd never seen her before. And I was scared. And she was really trying to get me in the car with her. But, I had a weird feeling that she was lying, and I didn't believe her. And I know my mom would not do that. And for why? Why would my mom even have someone pick me up when I live it was like halfway to my house. I was like 3 more blocks I'm at my house. Why would my mom have you pick me up in the middle, of the road? So I didn't believe her. At some point, I was like, well, I'm not getting in the car with you. I don't know you. And I started walking fast and walked away. Now, she didn't get out of the car or try to grab me or anything. She just stayed in her car. And I don't know if she drove off or what, because all I remember is getting out of there and walking as fast as I could home. And I remember as soon as I got home, I asked my mom about it. And she said she didn't know who that woman was. And she definitely didn't tell someone to pick me up. And she was really proud that I didn't get in the car with that woman. I don't know if she called the police. She might have. But we didn't discuss it very long. I told her everything what happened. And then we went over how not to get into cars and all that. We went over that again, I remember. And that's all we really discussed. I didn't really process my feelings about it. But I remember being extremely scared. I remember not understanding what that woman wanted or what she was going to do to me, and I never forgot that. I could still vividly remember that memory. And I'm still like, was she going to take me to somebody else? Was she going to kidnap me? Was she going to kill me? When I was a little kid, I always thought that that woman was going to kill me. That's what I thought. That's the feeling I had. That was really strange. Because it's a small, quiet town, and it's just really strange. It still scares me. And another time that I felt I felt the feeling that someone was trying to abduct me, and I was really scared for my life, is one time I was out with friends, and we were just driving around, because that's what we would do, on the weekends. And we would, everyone would get in their cars and drive around the city and, drive out to the country roads and speed and play loud music. And that's the kind of stuff we would do, because there's really nothing else to do. And it was just a small town, and there's no places open late at night. And so we were just having fun cruising. That's what we called it. Cruising around town. Everyone did it. Everyone's in their cars just driving around, playing loud music, stopping at the McDonald's and the drive-thrus and parking lots and just doing that kind of thing. Meeting up with other people. And then I remember we stopped at a gas station, and my friends, I really had to go to the bathroom, and my friends getting snacks and getting more gas so we could drive around some more. And I remember going to this gas station bathroom, and it was just like like a cement room, like one at a time kind of thing, where you had to get the key. I remember going in there and I peed for a really long time, and I remember all of a sudden someone started pounding on the door. It was like a metal door, and they were pounding away, and I was like, what? But they wouldn't answer me. They just kept pounding really, really loud and hard. I just started getting scared. I didn't say anything, and I just waited. They pounded for like a few minutes, and I was just so scared because I was scared to open the door because they could just open the door and come in, and the door locks right behind you. And I don't know who they were or what they were going to do to me. And it's the kind of room where they probably couldn't even hear me yell if something was happening. And so I was really scared. And I had the same feeling. And I just felt like, the intuition, do not open that door. Do not open that door. And so I just waited. And finally it stopped. And it just went away. And I was way too scared to open the door because I was worried they were still standing there. So I waited for like 10-15 minutes. And I was really terrified. But I opened the door and no one was there. And I went to the car and my friends were all in the car. And I asked them if they did it, and they were like, no. And I was like, did you see who it was? Because they were pounding on the door. And they were like, no, we didn't see anybody. And they were like, we were wondering why you were taking so long, And then, that was kind of it. But I remember being so scared. Like, I felt that feeling like I was going to be abducted or something. So I don't know if they were going to snatch me away or what. But that's another thing, is I'm just sitting there wondering what was going to happen. I'll never know. Just like that lady. And that's the only times that I've ever had, a scare like that. And I remember that both of them vividly. I've never had like an alien abduction. I've read a lot about it, but I've never had anything that I remember, or I've never even had like a dream of an alien abduction. I have seen things in the sky. I have looked up a few times in my life when I was younger, and the sky is very clear and there's lots of stars, and you see one of the stars starting to move, and they're moving in a really loop-to-loop, swirly, weird, like not mechanical, just like really strange patterns making in the sky. I remember seeing that a few times. And I thought, the first thing in my head was it's a UFO, right? But I wasn't scared at all, maybe because it was so far away and it just looked like a star. And I've seen that a few times. Usually I'm by myself, but one time I was out in the mountains with some friends, and I was like looking up at the sky and I saw it. And I pulled one of my friends over and I tried to make him see it, but he couldn't see it. And I just said, look, right there, right there. I was trying to, try to show him where it was. And then he saw it. And he was like, oh, he was so scared. And he ran off. And I'm like, why are you running off? And then when I caught up to him, he was like looking at me as if the look in his eyes, he was so scared. And he was looking at me as if I did it or if I tricked him into seeing something. And I was like, no, it wasn't me. And I'm like, he was so scared and he was just ready to leave after that. And I was like, I don't know why you're so scared, because it never made me feel scared. But he never seen anything like that. And I remember telling somebody on the internet about it, and there was a few other people that experienced the same thing. And they weren't scared either. So I don't know. But he was petrified and he was scared of me after that, and I'm just like it's not me doing it. But I haven't seen anything since I've lived in a place where there's clouds in the sky all the time, so I can't see stars anymore. So there's like no way for me to see if I could see it now. But one day, if I ever get, out to the mountains on a clear day, we'll see if I can see that again. It wasn't very often I saw that, but it's been a few times. I don't know what it is. It's not a satellite because the movements it's making was not. It's not like an airplane or aircraft or a satellite or anything like that. So I've always thought, my first thought was it was a UFO, but I wasn't scared.